There is a moment in every generation when wealth quietly shifts from one group of people to another. Not in secret. Not through insider knowledge. Not through luck. Most people simply miss it because they are watching the wrong thing. A mechanic in Ohio named David did not miss the last one. He kept putting $500 a month into a simple index fund through the most terrifying years of the financial crisis, while everyone around him was pulling money out. He did not feel like a genius. He felt scared. He did it anyway. Today, he is one of 24 million American millionaire households that did not exist in 2010. Now that same type of moment is forming again. This one is larger, quieter, and almost nobody in a normal neighborhood is talking about it. In this video, I am going to break down what is happening, why it mirrors previous wealth creation events almost exactly, and how to navigate it using a 4-part framework I call the Wealth Transfer Positioning System. If this kind of no-nonsense financial analysis is what you are looking for, subscribe now. Because the people who do not understand what is coming will fund the people who do. Here is a question most people never think to ask. Where do millionaires actually come from? When you see a statistic saying that the United States added more than 15 million new millionaire households in just 14 years, you naturally assume those people had some kind of advantage. A business exit, a lucky stock pick, a family connection. The data says something completely different. Think about a river during a drought. The water is low. Rocks are exposed. Fish are concentrated in smaller pools. Everyone can see exactly where the fish are. But most people are standing on the bank waiting for rain. The ones who walk into the water during the drought are the ones who eat. That is precisely what happened after the financial crisis bottomed out in early 2009. Stock markets had fallen by more than half. Retirement accounts looked like crime scenes. The emotional weight of that period was real and it was heavy. But the underlying companies that made up the American economy did not disappear. They were simply on sale. The people who participated consistently during those years, through regular retirement contributions, through simple diversified funds, through sheer stubbornness, those are the people who became the 15 million new millionaire households recorded by the time 2024 ended. The United States was adding roughly 1,000 new millionaires every single day in 2024 alone, according to research published that year. These were not people who made brilliant moves. They were people who made consistent moves during a period most people were too afraid or too distracted to engage with. The river floods when conditions align, and right now conditions are aligning again, but this time the water is coming from a completely different direction. That direction is a number that most people have never encountered in a serious conversation. $124 trillion. This bridges us directly into the second pillar of the framework. Understanding the mechanism. Let me give you a sense of what $124 trillion actually represents, because the number is so large it stops feeling real. The entire annual economic output of every country on Earth combined is smaller. The entire United States national debt multiplied by 5 is still smaller. This is the estimated value of assets that will change hands in the United States between now and 2048, according to research from Cerulli Associates published in 2025. This is what researchers are calling the Great Wealth Transfer. Here is why it is happening now. The generation of Americans born between 1946 and 1964 currently controls roughly half of all wealth in the country. The youngest members of that generation are in their early 60s. The oldest are approaching 80. This is the inevitable math of generational time. Wealth that took 8 decades to accumulate is now entering the distribution phase. Think of it like a reservoir that has been filling for most of a century. The dam does not break all at once. Water is released steadily over a long period. But everything downstream changes. The crops that get watered, the land that becomes fertile, the communities that form around new abundance. According to Cerulli's research, Generation X stands to receive roughly $39 trillion over the next 25 years. Millennials are in line for approximately $46 trillion. Even younger generations will begin seeing the effects before the transfer completes in the late 2040s. And before any of it reaches children or grandchildren, roughly $54 trillion will first transfer to surviving spouses. The research suggests that close to 40 trillion of those spousal transfers will go to widowed women, creating one of the largest shifts in financial decision-making authority in American history. Now here is the part that separates people who understand wealth mechanics from people who simply hope for inheritance. Most people will not receive a life-changing sum. The research is clear that the majority of this wealth is concentrated among a relatively small number of high net worth households. Most families will receive something modest or nothing at all. But that is not the actual opportunity. The opportunity is what happens when $124 trillion starts moving through an economy. Assets get purchased. Markets receive capital. Real estate gets bought. Businesses get funded. The movement of that money creates conditions that benefit anyone who is already positioned in its path. That is the mechanic. And it brings us to the third element of the wealth transfer positioning system, which is understanding where the capital actually flows. Let me ask you something. When a flood comes, does everyone get equally wet? Obviously not. Water follows gravity. It moves into low-lying areas first. It concentrates where terrain channels it. The distribution of $124 trillion will follow its own version of gravity. Research from major financial institutions tracking generational investment preferences shows that younger inheritors think about money differently than the generation that built it. Where baby boomers gravitated toward traditional blue-chip stocks and bonds, their heirs show significantly stronger interest in alternative investments, direct company ownership, and sectors tied to emerging technologies and sustainability. This is not a marginal shift. When trillions of dollars change hands and the new owners have different preferences, entire sectors experience repricing. We are already seeing this play out. Artificial intelligence infrastructure has become one of the dominant investment stories of 2026. Clean energy continues attracting long-term capital commitments. Healthcare innovation is receiving substantial inflows. These are not random trends. They reflect where younger capital holders are directing attention and resources. But here is the insight that most coverage of the wealth transfer completely skips. Geographic positioning matters as much as sector positioning. Real estate values are not determined by national averages. They are determined by local supply and demand. The markets where younger generations want to live and work have already shown dramatically different price trajectories than markets experiencing population decline. Two properties purchased for the same price in 2026 in two different cities could produce radically different outcomes by 2040 simply based on which direction capital flows in the intervening years. This is also the moment in this video where I want to be direct with you about something. Tracking all of this, the income, the investments, the real estate exposure, the net worth trajectory, without a centralized system, is almost impossible for most people. You end up with accounts at different institutions, a rough sense of what you own, and no clear picture of how the pieces connect. And to make this journey effortless, we're building the Trip to Wealth Command Center, a Google Sheet system that brings your income, spending, investing, and net worth together in one place. It's your personal strategy hub designed to expose money leaks, highlight growth opportunities, and show how small decisions compound into real wealth. Join the early access list below and secure a discount as an early supporter. Every wealth system needs a strategy. This is where yours begins. Now, the fourth element of the wealth transfer positioning system may be the most important one. Because understanding the opportunity and actually capturing it are two completely different things separated by one specific human challenge. Here is the uncomfortable question this section is built around. If the information is public, if the opportunity is documented, if the math is clearly in favor of participation, then why did most people miss the last one? In 2009, the market bottom was not hidden. Anyone with a brokerage account could see that stocks had lost more than half their value. The research was available. The historical precedent of market recoveries was documented going back over a century. Yet the majority of American investors either sold during the decline or stayed out of the market for years afterward out of fear. The Goldman Sachs research on this is striking. Missing only the 10 best trading days in the market since 2009 would have reduced annual returns by roughly 5 percentage points. Missing the 25 best days would have cut returns nearly in half. The critical detail is that those best days almost always occur during the most volatile and fear-inducing periods. The enemy of wealth accumulation is rarely ignorance at this level. It is the emotional experience of staying positioned when everything around you feels uncertain. Consider someone who has been consistently investing $500 per month in a diversified index fund for the past 17 years, starting around 2009. At the historical average market return of around 10% annually, that person has accumulated over $250,000 from contributions that totaled roughly $100,000 over that period. The other $150,000 or more came from staying invested while the noise was loudest. Now project that same consistency forward through the next 25 years of the wealth transfer period. A 35-year-old today who commits to that same monthly investment through the transfer window at historical average returns moves toward millionaire status through contributions and compounding alone. Increase the monthly amount as income grows and the timeline shortens further. No inheritance required. No breakthrough investment required. Just consistent participation in the conditions the wealth transfer creates. The professions that surround wealth movement also deserve attention here. When over $100 trillion changes hands, the industries that facilitate those transfers grow alongside the capital itself. Financial planning, estate administration, tax advisory, real estate, and legal services tied to wealth management will expand significantly across the transfer period. People who develop skills in these areas are not waiting for an inheritance. They are positioning to earn income from capital in motion. And before we move to the final section, here is what I want you to do right now. Drop the word "positioned" in the comments below. One word. No explanation needed. It tells me you understand what this moment represents, and you are thinking about it seriously rather than just watching passively. Now let us bring the 4 pillars of the wealth transfer positioning system together into something concrete. The first pillar is participation. Broad market exposure through low-cost, diversified funds remains the most reliable vehicle for capturing economic expansion during wealth transfer periods. The history from 2009 through 2026 demonstrates this clearly. You do not need to identify which specific company or sector will outperform. Owning the broad market through a low-cost index fund means you participate in aggregate growth. Maximize your tax-advantaged accounts first. The 401k contribution limits for 2026 allow for meaningful contributions with additional catch-up amounts available for those 50 and older. Every dollar that compounds in a tax-advantaged environment is working more efficiently than the same dollar in a taxable account. The second pillar is positioning. Understand where capital flows geographically and sectorally, and evaluate your current exposure against those flows. This does not mean abandoning a diversified portfolio in favor of concentrated bets. It means being aware that geographic decisions, including where you live, where you own property, and where you build career capital, carry financial weight that compounds over decades. The third pillar is patience with a defined horizon. The great wealth transfer is a 25-year process. It is not a quarterly event. The people who will look back on this period the way we now look back at 2009 will be people who made decisions on a decade or multi-decade timeline while everyone around them was reacting to quarterly noise. Extend your time horizon and the math becomes your ally rather than your adversary. The fourth pillar is a personal strategy system. Knowing what you should do and having a clear picture of what you are actually doing are often separated by a significant gap for most people. Net worth tracking, cash flow visibility, investment allocation clarity, these are not luxury tools for wealthy people. They are the foundation of strategic financial decision-making for anyone who intends to capture what this period offers. The historical record on this is unambiguous. The United States has produced mass millionaire creation events several times in its history. After World War II, after the 1982 bull market began, after the 2009 recovery launched. Each time, the information was available. Each time, millions of ordinary people captured the opportunity. Each time, a larger number of ordinary people did not, because they were waiting for certainty that never arrived, or because they lacked the patience to stay positioned through the inevitable discomfort. The great wealth transfer does not have a single starting gun moment. It is a process that is already underway. The oldest members of the transferring generation are already in their late 70s. The assets are already moving. The conditions are already forming, which means there is no ideal moment to begin waiting for. There is only the decision to participate now or the decision to watch from the bank while others walk into the river. The wealth transfer positioning system comes down to 4 elements. Participation means staying invested in broad markets consistently regardless of short-term volatility. Positioning means understanding where capital flows geographically and sectorally and evaluating your exposure honestly. Patience means making decisions on a 25-year timeline rather than reacting to noise. And personal strategy means having a clear, integrated view of your actual financial picture, so your decisions are grounded in reality rather than approximation. Here is the philosophical reframe I want to leave you with. Wealth is not primarily created by intelligence. It is created by presence. The people who became millionaires after 2009 were present in the market when the market rewarded presence. The people who benefit most from the next 25 years will be the ones who are present now and stay present through the discomfort that will inevitably accompany that period. Your challenge is straightforward. Look at your current financial position this week and identify the single largest gap between what you understand intellectually about wealth building and what you are actually doing. Then close that gap with one concrete action before this month ends. Disclaimer: this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing in this content should be considered personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. Always consult a qualified professional before making investment decisions. Past market performance does not guarantee future results. And there you have it. If you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below, especially if this video made you think differently. I appreciate your support more than you know. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.